So I'm obviously at work, but I was asked to make a video regarding Derek Chauvin co-defendants and the potential crimes and outcomes that they're facing regarding everything now that the Chauvin verdicts come in. So first, I need to point out they're all charged with what's called an inchoate crime. An inchoate crime is something like conspiracy, being an accessory after the fact or an accessory during the fact, aiding and abetting. It's basically when you're not an actual commissioner of the crime, but you've somehow assisted that individual. All three co-defendants are charged with inchoate offense of aiding and abetting, which is Minnesota, and again I'm using a cheat sheet, General Statute 609.05, liability for crimes of another. It's under subdivision 1, aiding, abetting, liability. A person is criminally liable for a crime committed by another if the person intentionally aids, advises, hires, counsels, or conspires with, or otherwise procures the other to commit the crime. So, given the conviction of Chauvin for intentionally committing those acts, it's going to come down to what that body camera footage shows those other officers were engaged in during the time that Chauvin was committing the crime. If they were encouraging him to stay on George Floyd's neck, if they were in any way, shape, or form assisting him in staying on George Floyd's neck, keeping the crowd back, stuff like that, in any way impeding help from getting to George Floyd, that would count as aiding and abetting or being an accessory. Any kind of assistance that was offered. Conspiracy is a little bit harder to prove. Conspiracy requires showing there was an agreement between the two parties and that a substantial step was taken towards committing the crime by the party being charged with the inchoate offense. Now, because two of the people were rookies and only on their second or third day on the job, it is possible that they won't have as much liability because they can claim, well, this is what we were trained, we just came out of training, we didn't realize this was excessive force, so there's a potential defense there for them to this inchoate liability. But the more experienced officer, Officer Tao, who in the video is seen assisting Chauvin in remaining on George Floyd's neck and keeping the crowd at bay and things like that, can be seen as potentially a problem. Now there's talk that there may be a request for a change of venue for these defendants to get it out of the current Maricopa County courthouse where the conviction took place. So the prosecution kind of has an advantage with Chauvin's conviction in that they already have the crime committed, so all they have to show is that these others helped. But they could add a bit of a disadvantage because the expectations placed very high on them now, so they're going to need to really lean into that video and pick out the parts that show each individual officer in some way, shape, or form assisting Chauvin committing these crimes. They're charged with the second-degree murder and the second-degree manslaughter, so that's the negligence and the felony murder. For some reason, they're not charged with the third-degree murder, the reckless one. But they're charged with the two second-degree murder counts. I think they could very well be found guilty on the negligence one. I don't know if they'll get clipped on inchoate liability for the felony murder because they have to show that they were aware that it was excessive force and they assisted him in allowing excessive force, whereas for the negligence, they just have to show that they were aware it was negligent and that they assisted him in committing that negligent conduct in some way, shape, or form, which I think from the body camera footage that we saw during the Chauvin trial, that's not going to be difficult. So a lot of pundits are going back and forth as to whether this is a disadvantage for the state or an advantage. Personally, I think it's an advantage. They're not willing to take a plea from what I've seen in my research, but they're all charged with the same thing, this 609.05 liability of aiding and abetting, which is the same thing as accessory liability. It just means you helped someone commit a crime. You didn't actually commit it yourself, but you in some way, shape, or form rendered them aid or assistance in helping the crime be committed. So, like I said, it's going to come down to that body camera footage. This was by request that someone asked that I do a video regarding their potential liability, so I would count on seeing those trials go forward this summer, but keep an eye out to see if the venue gets changed out into another county, which may make it more difficult for the state due to the Dante Wright shooting and the other things that happened. That'll be hard to get a jury pool that didn't see Maxine Waters. While the other jury wasn't sequestered, they were instructed not to watch the news and things like that, so it was a safe guess by the judge that the jury followed his instructions. That's why I didn't declare a mistrial or anything else when Chauvin's lawyer asked for it after Maxine Waters' comments. But now the current jury pool for these summer trials have all seen Maxine Waters' comments. They know about Dante Wright's shooting. So there's a good chance the defense will get a change of venue, which means moving the trial to another area within Minnesota. I hope that answers everybody's questions. If not, please feel free to leave a comment. Thanks all of you always for all your kind words and comments, and I'll keep you posted if anything else pops up. Thanks.